Ruth Wright, and I've lived in Boulder since the late 50s. I lived in Wisconsin, and then Europe, and then Saudi Arabia, and finally we moved to Boulder when my first little girl was 3 months old. Then I had a second little girl just 13 months later, so I had 2 babies in diapers, and I was very much involved with my baby girls. But I became involved in the environmental movement. I never even knew I was an environmentalist until I realized that we were living in one of the most beautiful cities of the world, and things were happening to it. So I started becoming an activist. Came to Boulder in the late 50s, let's say 1959.
And you were part of Plan Boulder, or what happened?
And at first, I was just taking care of my children, and then a group had done the Blue Line, which was a elevation above the mountain backdrop, on the mountain backdrop above which the city would not provide water, and that protected the mountain backdrop. And a group called Plan Boulder was formed. But after a couple of years, it sort of came into disuse, and I realized we needed to bring it again. So I revitalized Plan Boulder in 1964-65 and became its chair and got involved in City of Boulder activities. One of the main things that we did was the open space election. Since we were growing at a rate of 7% a year, that doubles the population in 10 years, and we lived in Boulder and wanted to protect it. So we started a campaign for a fourth of a penny sales tax, which got on the ballot and passed handily at 62%, and we've been buying open space in and around Boulder ever since. It was a very successful program. The next big project with Plan Boulder started with a group called Boulder Tomorrow, and it was the city people, the mayor, the business community, and I was asked to be a part of that and became one of its officers to revitalize downtown, which at that point was dying on the vine because the big shopping center had been built. And so shopping was moving to that area, and poor downtown had a lot of empty spaces. So Boulder Tomorrow was formed to revitalize the downtown. I was fully supportive of all that until they decided that they had to have high-rise buildings in downtown and the Crossroads Shopping Center, a huge area there, to revitalize the downtown. It became a mantra: we have to have high-rise buildings. At that point, I thought, we have this beautiful historic downtown Boulder, and going high-rise was not the way to do it. So I resigned from the group and decided to continue my law school education, which I had started when my husband was getting his master's degree, and got into a class called Law in the City Environment, and I did a paper on height control. And at the end of the paper, I recommended a city charter amendment to limit height to 55 feet. That was a shocker, but it was just a paper at that point, so we had to implement it. So we formed a group to campaign for this. My professor joined the campaign. We had enormous opposition that had all the money they could possibly want. And on the same day that the city council decided to permit buildings to go up to 140 feet, that's 14 stories high, in downtown Boulder, Crossroads Shopping Center, my petitions was certified with enough signatures, and we were on the ballot. So then we had 2 months to campaign, and that was absolutely intense. Fortunately, we had newspaper that opposed what the camera was saying about it, and we managed to win that with the help of the students. So the Height Amendment became a part of the city charter in 1971. It has never been overturned because I had done all the constitutional work, and so it was really solid.
Are you called the mother of, what did they give you? They give you a title.
Sometimes I'm called the mother of Greenbelts, but I'm certainly the mother of the Height Amendment because that was my baby. So that was 1971. In 1974, I got involved with the Dick Lamb campaign for governor because he not only was a personal friend, but by that time we were environmentalists and he was the environmental candidate. When he won, he appointed me to 2 state boards. So Ruth Wright went from a very local pond to the state pond, which was much bigger. State Health Board and the Water Quality Control Commission. I served on those for 6 years. At State Health, it was Rocky Flats and all the radiation that was potential there. And Water Quality Control, we were at the forefront of the new Water Quality Act, and EPA for this region considered us the leader in the state of Colorado.